Hi, everyone. My name is Amy Elias, and I am a Lindsay Young Professor of English at UT Knoxville. My research field is English, specifically literature after 1960 and cross-disciplinary aesthetics, which means I read a lot of novels and narrative theory, and I try to understand how the contemporary arts work within contemporary culture and society and cultural landscapes. But today I'm talking with you as my role of the UT Humanities Center director at the University of Tennessee. So I gotta say I'm very excited about being here because I'm particularly thrilled to talk with the Alumni Association because I'm somebody who seems to be fated to be a volunteer. My husband and I met in graduate school, and he's from a small town in southwest Arkansas called DeQueen. It's a little bit north of Texarkana, if you know that region. And I'm from northeastern Pennsylvania, from a smaller town called Wilkes-Barre, which is near the town called Scranton, which you might be familiar with from the TV show The Office. That's where I'm from. So my first job out of grad school was in Alabama, but when a job opened up at the English department at the University of Tennessee in 2002, my husband and I saw it as fate. And this is why. The UT is a place where two highways meet. There's US Route 70, which runs from DeQueen, Arkansas to Knoxville. And then there is US Highway 11, which runs from Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania to Knoxville. And they meet on Nayland Drive. So needless to say, when I applied for the job here, and I was very happy to, and when I was hired as a professor of English in 2002, it was clear that my family would be volunteers for life. So I'm really happy to be with you here today. So in addition to my teaching in the English department and my writing of my own books about the contemporary arts, I've been director of the UT Humanities Center for about 3 years now. And we're located right in the middle of campus in the on the UT campus. We're right across from the new Student Union in Dufferin Hall. And the UT Humanities Center is a research center. It's devoted to the research about the arts and humanities, and it represents and provides programming for 9 departments in the College of Arts and Sciences. So if I can remember them all. Art, classics, English, history, modern foreign languages and literatures, music, philosophy, religious studies, and theater. We're really a very young research center. We opened our doors for operation really only in 2011, that's only 9 years ago, under the direction of Emeritus Professor Thomas Heffernan. And our mission is to provide financial and programmatic support for humanities research at UT, to help our arts and humanities faculty and students meet their research goals, whether through financial support or help with grant writing or building bridges with other universities to extend UT's humanities programming reach, right? Or connecting faculty to other researchers at other universities with whom they might collaborate. But we also advocate for the arts and humanities. We work with Humanities Tennessee. Let's see if I can do that. It's backwards on my screen. Humanities Tennessee and the National Humanities Alliance and the International Consortium of Humanities Institutes and Centers to advertise the work that we do at UT, but also to connect with arts and humanities researchers worldwide. Our UT faculty, I should note, are quite outstanding. UT is, I don't know if people know the stats about this, but UT is actually tied for 9th in the number of National Endowment for the Humanities, NEH, fellowships awarded since 2005. That ties us with Harvard and University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. And our faculty continue to win National Science Foundation, ACLS, and other grants from national granting institutes and agencies. They're also outstanding teachers and often have a lot of contact with the students at the University of Tennessee. So they're a really powerful force at UT and some of the best scholars really in the United States today. Sometimes when I talk to people in my role as the director of a humanities center, I find out that a lot of people don't understand what humanities research really could be. And so I understand that because that term really covers a huge range of activities and disciplines. Some of our UT faculty work on archaeological digs, right? Literally to unearth information about past societies and belief systems. For instance, two of our faculty members in classics work on archaeological digs concerning the Roman and the Greek past. And one of our faculty members in religious studies has a dig in the Middle East in Jordan. You can see that. She takes her students there, also her graduate students there on this dig to find out how Christianity spread in remote areas of the Middle East. And her team, like I said, takes graduate students to Jordan regularly to participate in this archaeological project. A very different kind of humanities research is being done by a UT faculty member in the Department of English, Hilary Havens, who uses software to uncover manuscript erasures in older manuscripts, famous texts from the 18th century. I'm going to show you a big picture of this. I hope you can see it. Right there it is. Okay. She goes to a library archive and looks at a big manuscript, an old manuscript, and then digitizes it. You can see that on this side. And makes it electronic. And then she looks at the places where the manuscript has been blocked out or erased by the original author in some way. And then she uses digital technology to lift off those erasures to see what the author considered too controversial to put in the original novel. And so her work, it gives us this whole new insight into how social pressures affected particularly British women's writing in the 18th and the 19th century, where they felt they had to excise things out of their own manuscripts that might be considered improper or dangerous for them to publish. And then you have a different kind of work, right, shown in the research of one of our history faculty members who studies how we can view the role of Black businesses during the US Civil Rights Movement. Brandon Winford wrote a book that examines the life of North Carolina banker and lawyer John H. Wheeler, who in 1952 became president of the Mechanics and Farmers Bank, which was the third largest Black-owned business in the bank in the United States at the time. And this kind of research adds a whole new facet to U.S. history, showing how, in particular, Wheeler here negotiated the worlds of banking, finance, and the civil rights movement at a crucial moment in our nation's history. So I could go on and on about the variety and depth and breadth of humanities research. Our faculty and graduate students, gosh, they work on how museums represent Native American history, how the philosophy of Plato impacts ethical decisions today, how Appalachia is represented in modern American imaginations, how German filmmaking of the 20th century complicates Nazi politics, how Roman persecution of Christians was represented in women's writings of the day, how foreign languages are learned, what ideas form the basis of Shakespeare's comedies. Even, and I have worked on this myself, what an emoji novel, a novel written in emoji language might look like. So the breadth and reach of our research is really amazing, I think. And these are the kind of projects that the UT Humanities Center gets to support. We offer funding for research seminars that allow faculty and graduate students to study together. We offer residency fellowships that to faculty and to graduate students that give them paid leave to complete their books and their dissertations or their dissertation projects. We host lectures on campus and visiting speakers and special events. We give students money to travel to conferences and to libraries. We host research events on the UT campus. So we're doing all these things as part of our Humanities Center to further the research mission of the arts and humanities here. But we also have another facet to our mission, and that is public outreach. We take seriously the role of a land-grant university. and to connect with people and provide educational opportunities for the people of this region. We want to serve the people of Tennessee. Our programming this year really reflects that. I'll give you a sample of it. We run a public lecture series through the Humanities Center that brings up, 10 to 12 people a year to the UT campus. And we often supplement that series with other special events. This is our distinguished lecture series. You might see posters for it around town and on our social media. 2 years ago, we brought the author J.D. Vance to campus, author of Hillbilly Elegy. And last year, we brought the Poet Laureate of the United States, Tracy K. Smith, to campus to give a lecture free on campus to the public and to the faculty and staff at UT. This past September, I hosted a 3-day event that included a dialogue between Vinton Cerf, who is vice president of Google and one of the inventors of the internet, and Michael Whitmore, who's the director of the Folger Shakespeare Library in Washington, D.C. And Vint and Michael came to UT and gave talks together at ORNL and on the UT campus, showing how computer science and the study of Shakespeare came together, and how the sciences and the humanities have a lot more in common than they think they do sometimes, and have a lot more that they could teach one another. So it was a fantastic, fun public event, and it's part of this public outreach that we're doing. This past spring, we had a really exciting thing happen, which was I worked with organizations in the region, specifically the Delaney Project in Knoxville. You might have seen posters for this around town. Excuse me. What we did was we partnered with the Delaney Project as the Humanities Center to host an international symposium on the arts of James Baldwin and Buford Delaney. As a lot of you probably know, Buford Delaney was an internationally acclaimed painter who was born in Knoxville, Tennessee, and was a lifelong friend of James Baldwin, who won fame both as a writer and as a social activist. The Delaney Project is a nonprofit organization centered in Knoxville, whose goal is to restore knowledge about Delaney's life and work. And so by working with this project, the UT was able to put together this symposium, which was funded by a $50,000 grant by the National Endowment for the Humanities, and it brought 26 scholars to our campus, to give talks on the importance of the artist's work, on the artist's lives, and the project allowed the UT Humanities Center to partner with regional organizations working with the Delaney Project to recognize African American arts in this region. These organizations included such entities as the Knoxville Museum of Art, which held an amazing exhibition of Buford Delaney's work during the run of the symposium, the Buford Delaney Estate, the Beck Cultural Center, Cultural Exchange Center, the East Tennessee Historical Society, Marble City Opera, Big Ears Festival, and the Friesen Black Cultural Center on the campus of the University of Tennessee. The event, it was really great, and it kind of epitomized how the UT Humanities Center could bring the expertise and the world-class research of our UT scholars together with public organizations in a way that could educate Tennesseans about the diversity of our past and build new communities of learning and intellectual exchange in our present right now. And this year, we're taking on the volunteer mission, the mission to serve, right, very seriously as our nation faces some of its biggest social challenges. During the COVID-19 pandemic, it is logical, of course, that we turn to the sciences to solve the virus problem, right? But it is becoming apparent to everyone that the other devastating effects of this pandemic are ones connected to people's isolation from one another, our fears about our mortality, our worries about how we as citizens will see our institutions in the future, our concern about equal and just treatment of fellow human beings of different races and socioeconomic backgrounds, our definitions of what freedom can be, even our concerns about institutional ethics in a time of crisis. In a crisis, right, we palpably long for truth, for fellowship, for meaning, even for beauty, right? And now in the US, we face another crisis right on top of that, a crisis of equality and justice, a crisis of belief for many people in the very systems of order and value that seem natural to us. We see people, a man killed on video, we watch protesters on the streets, we hear violent and hate-filled speech on social media, we see our communities torn apart by fear, anger, and suspicion. We are faced, right, with questions that are not in the domain of science alone, but in the domain of ethics, the domain of history, the domain of religion, questions about morality and justice and freedom, and what we call a life well lived. Right? So these questions cannot be solved by science and technology alone. These questions, our concerns cannot, they can't be solved by science and technology because they're humanistic questions. They are the wicked problems of humanity, and they concern things that have obsessed people for thousands of years, though we have our own versions of those concerns in our own time. The humanities most often are concerned not with answers, but with critical questions. And that's what we're really concerned with here at the Humanities Center. MacArthur scholar Daniel Allen once said that if the sciences are really great at getting us to ask questions about what and how, the humanities are really great at getting us to ask questions about why. And answering why questions is usually not efficient, and it usually demands a lot of knowledge, but those why questions are at the core of what makes a healthy society and a healthy human being, right, in many ways. So during this time of multiple crises, the Humanities Center is stepping up again. 2 weeks after the university closed, 2 weeks after the university closed, we started a terrific public books master series, which you can see at our website. You know, all this information is available at the UT Humanities Center website. And this public books master series is free and open to the public. It's online. It features 11 lectures by UT faculty from many of our humanities departments. But it's also a partnership with Union Ave Books, the independent bookstore in downtown Knoxville, which, like all independent businesses in the past few months, has been potentially hard hit by the COVID-19 shutdown. So it's a way for us to connect with faculty and students at UT, with you who may be outside the UT campus in our region, and also to partner with a business and a partner in intellectual learning in our community. We get online at 7 p.m. on Wednesdays. We hear a lecture on a book by a UT faculty member, and we discuss ideas together, and that's what we do. So check out our webpage to see how it works, and I hope you can join us for that as one of our latest and I think one of our most fun, really, recent things, activities and events that we've sponsored to serve the region and to connect our wonderful UT Humanities scholars with you, the public. So before I close today, I thought I would just mention to you that as for this Public Books Master Series that I helped to run, one of the things that I've been noticing is that people don't always know how to ask questions in a Master Books in a series, and that maybe you would want some pointers. So if you come to our Public Books Master Series, and I hope you do, right, that I'd like to show you how I read a book and how I participate in a discussion, right? So this is a book that I really love. It's by Kim Stanley Robinson, and it's called New York 2140. It was the last book that I taught in March in my science fiction and fantasy class before the university shut down. I'll give you a sense of it. Is 603 pages long. My students were very happy to read this book. When I read it myself, I've read it a number of times and written on it. What I do is I take notes in the back of the book, and you can see these are notes about, there's a list of characters. They are lists of ideas, but their page numbers are listed with the things that I note on whatever interests me. And I make little notations about things that interest me, but also about which I have questions. And I always read my book, and I never use marker in my book. I never use pen. I write with pencil if I'm going to mark it, and I use Post-it notes to get where I want to go. But then when the discussion opens up, when we can have a discussion together about the book, one, I remember it because I have written things down about it as I read. I have a character list, I have a list of questions, I have a list of ideas, so that I don't draw a blank when the discussion starts, even though I've read the book. And two, I know what I want to ask about. And so I can ask very specific questions about things that really interest me when I get that book, when the book discussion starts. So I hope you join us for our Master Books class. You can ask questions. You buy the book, you read the book, you join us for a discussion, and you can ask any question you want of an expert in the field of history, English, classics, all kinds of things that the arts and humanities represent. So I hope you join us for our many, many events and activities at the Ut Humanities Center. I'm getting used to this format, but I hope I see you again here. And please get in touch with me if you have any questions at all. Thanks so much. Let's see. I don't see questions, so I think I will leave you now. Please feel free to get in touch anytime. Amy Elias, UT Humanities Center. Nice to talk with you. Thanks.